Yo, 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 yo. What's up, y'all? Another episode. Man, me and Skins, man, we really love doing this, man. Just getting before y'all and just letting y'all know where we coming from, man. The intent is always to have the conversation, have the dialogue, and to represent men that know how to communicate and eloquent ourselves very well. But again, welcome back to another episode, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Another episode of How Did We Get Here? I'm your host, Jay Carter. I got my man that's always heard and never seen, Skins.
You.
So we back. We want to hit this topic real quick. We did a part one. We haven't given it a title yet, but we did a part one essentially, where we're discussing the trek and the travel of black people in this country and how we've come from slavery all the way into now, and how that it still has an impact on what we do today. So in that conversation, we detailed some of those things, highlighted some of those things really quickly, and just something for you to kind of go back, for those that don't know, and do your Googles, you know what I'm saying? And not just Google, but there's a lot of literature, a lot of books. Shout out to my boy Kai Phoenix. He's like a walking encyclopedia of black history. I literally have an auntie. Shout out to Aunt Charlene. She's a professor of black history, African American studies. So there's a whole bunch of literature out there. And I might look back into the description of the last one and put some of the stuff we can go back to. So in this episode, what we want to talk about, and me and Schemes were talking about, is the totality that we can't be so polarized that we look at things from just one perspective. As we're trying to get to a holistic position, we got to look at this thing holistically, and we got to look at all sides of the equation. And in the how do we get here journey, we got to look at everything. And in this episode, what we want to talk about is, while there are many things in the country that are a certain way, there's been a lot of things that have happened to our people in this country. There's things that we got to look inwardly at ourselves to do, and there's some corrections that we got to make to get to that place as a people. Now, Schemes, what you think about that so far, man?
Well, so then we have to ask the question: what's more impactful, the gun or the bullet that was shot?
Say, as like Zoe Williams said, say more.
The gun or the bullet that was shot?
Okay.
So the gun is the circumstances by which we got here.
Okay.
The bullet is the things that we do.
Okay. The gun is the circumstances.
Correct.
So the gun is slavery. The gun is mass incarceration, Jim Crow, segregation, separate but equal, etc., etc.
Exactly.
Okay.
The bullet is the damage that we do to each other within our community.
Okay.
Which one is more impactful? Because without the gun, that bullet was never shot.
Okay.
Without the bullet, there's no carnage from the gun.
Okay.
So it takes two.
Okay. Yeah.
Old Rob Bass.
Yeah. Right.
We're talking about Baby Boy, guns or butter.
Right. There's guns and then there's butter. Okay.
Yeah. So it is a two-way street in terms of how we get there. So no matter which direction you take, the compass still leads you to the same place.
Okay.
But yeah, we a lot of times we talk about our plight and the different things that have held us back. But a lot of us refuse to look in the mirror or want to be held accountable for the things that we do within our own community.
So let me play the other side of this thing, because a lot of times in the black community, this is an uncomfortable, contentious conversation.
Exactly.
Why is that though?
Well, as they say, it's easy to point the finger, but you negate the three or four fingers that's coming back at you. you're only focusing outward on that one finger. But there's a lot of things that we do within our community that is detriment to us. As I told you, is uncomfortable as it is. One of the biggest lies a lot of us tell each other, say, I love black people. A lot of us don't. That's the biggest lie a lot of us tell each other. Oh, I love my people. No, you don't.
Now, why would you say we don't love each other?
The willingness to do the things that you do.
Okay.
The willingness to be willing to shoot your brother over or somebody bumped you. The willingness to steal from one another, to backbite. To look, when you see women out there fighting, women or you see different videos. They jump a girl that she's pregnant or she got the baby in her arm. That's not love. And for people that will say, well, which is true, there's no such thing as black on black crime. There's proximity. Yes. But if we talk about proximity of crime, is it acceptable to have domestic violence? Because the proximity doesn't get any closer than in your household.
Yeah, we don't justify domestic crime.
You can't. You do not. You refuse to. So if you try to if you want to look at that in that lens, you don't get any closer than in the house, or sibling violence.
Right.
So if you're saying that it's because we live around each other, we stacked on top of each other, then that's why it happens. Well, okay, if that's the case, then if that's your justification, then you also justify inward fighting within your household. Either way it goes, is not acceptable, because if you truly love someone, part of marriage, part of family is loving, being able to compromise, be willing to put the other person first, being willing to give my last for my brother, my sister, my mother, my father, so on and so forth. That's true love. When you're willing to die for someone, not kill over nothing.
Right.
Too often in our community, we see countless young kids die. You see, they showed the 1-year-old that was shot because of gang violence, or I'm not going to say gang violence, just random reckless shooting.
Right.
We know how often are we damning the person that did that pulled that trigger.
Right.
But yet and still we talk about don't snitch.
Yep.
Now, if we talking about loving our community, that means upholding our community and also keeping and making our brothers and sisters accountable for their actions. But we talk about don't snitch.
Yep.
One of the few times that we are willing to be completely unified is not snitching. The stupidest thing for us not to be unified on.
Right.
As we talked about before, man, if you're part of the game, anything that happens within the game, you're a player in the game. That's what comes with it.
Right. Those
are rules and parameters that you wish to play.
Right.
But when you're harming the innocent, people that have nothing to do with it, that person's a civilian. Anything that's told is because that person is a civilian. We ought to, if we're really talking about community empowerment and loving our community, if you shoot somebody you shoot an innocent kid, we ought to march to your house and pull you out and publicly either take care of you, or we need to publicly take you to the police station.
Right.
Either it's to be handled inward within our community. For the people that say, well, I don't want to take it to the police. Okay, God, right or wrong, no matter how you feel about it, but it needs to be handled by the community, and let people know that it's not acceptable. You are not going to go on the street and spray up a whole block. And I was watching the videos in Chicago, and I was just to keep talking about Chicago, but it is on the news a lot, how an older woman was shot because someone was trying to shoot her grandson that got out of prison.
Okay.
He wasn't out like a month, like a couple weeks, and that same house had been shot up 2 or 3 times in a week.
Right.
She ended up getting injured. She has nothing to do with it.
Yep.
What happened to the principles of not touching kids, not harming the elderly? We've lost those morals, those principles. At least if you're going to do dirt, at least have some form of principles. Now it's completely wild, wild west.
Right.
But then when you talk about it and you say, "Oh, let's hold each other," oh, then that's when we have an issue because now this is the time we want to lean back and talk about the things that were done to us, Willie Lynch and got it. We understand that,
Right.
but there also has to be a form of accountability that we should have with each other. If that's the case, if there's no rules about anything, what about your job?
Right.
Oh well, they holding me down. I ain't gonna work because they holding me back. That we have to be accountable somehow, some shape, form, or fashion. We have to. Am I my brother's keeper?
Right.
G Money and them talked about that way
Right.
back when.
Right. And to piggyback of what you're talking about, Skeens, is you've said the word accountability so many times, right? And talking about, we discussed in episode 1 of this 2-part series the things that we know that's evident in how we got to this place. Now that we know those things, it is incumbent upon us, and there's an accountability thing in there where we're accountable to make different decisions.
Correct.
Because it's no different than if I'm like, okay, down that pathway, Mario, our great-great-great-grandfather and our great-great-grandfather and our great-great-grandfather and our great-grandfather and our grandfather, down that path by that tree, there's a bear trap. We know
Absolutely.
there's a bear trap there. It's going to maim you if you walk down there by that tree. We can't continue to say, well, they put that, it's there.
And then complain about the bear trap.
We know
Take a different
it's
path.
there. We have to take a different path to where we're trying to get.
Yeah. So a lot of that is uplifting our community.
Absolutely. We have to.
Because if you look at if you break down gang culture,
Right.
Crips and Bloods started out
It was community-based.
empowerment,
That's what it was about.
protecting their community.
Right. Yep.
So we have to get back, and not just talking about gang culture in general, but we have to get back to empowering our community. At one point in time, if I did back in the day, if I did something wrong, if my parents went around, my neighbors would check me.
Absolutely.
And then when my parents got home, they told my parents. My parents would deal with that.
Absolutely.
Now we're at a point to show how fragmented we are. We have people talking, don't say nothing to my kids.
Don't you say the parents now your kid be acting a fool at the house.
Empowering the kid.
Now when he goes to school, now you're trying to shoot him or her all this bail and making excuses for him. Yeah. Again, it goes back to accountability.
And not just that. If you're not around and your kid's out here acting a fool, instead of you saying, "Hey, I appreciate you, my brother, my sister, for letting me know, I'll take care of that."
Right. You mad at
the person for speaking to the kid. Well, more than anything, I shouldn't have to be the one to correct your child. That is your child.
Right.
Now, if you're going to take ownership of the child and say, "Don't be talking to my child," well, do your job.
Right.
Of raising your child the right way.
Right.
Because either your child's going to do what they say out here, or he or she's going to do what they say in there.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
who would you rather do it at?
Who would you rather to correct them if you're not around? Me, or someone in the community that's doing it out of love.
Right.
Because
or
we're trying
law enforcement.
Yes, because we're trying to correct those habits. It's just like in certain segments when it comes to jobs. A lot of jobs would rather have a person with a blank slate than a person that has a lot of experience, because they want to train them the right way.
Yeah, they want to mold them.
They don't want to They don't want to have to get rid of a lot of bad habits.
Deprogram.
And that's what we're talking about. We want to start training and raising respectable young men and women early. We don't want to wait till they're 16 and 17. Then they about to hit it and now try to correct them.
Right.
And you see some people, and I can't tell people how to raise your kid, but you see kids cursing at 1 and 2 and 3 and they
laughing. They thinking it's funny.
It's different when you're 18 or between 16 and 18 cursing you out. Now you're in your feelings. Hey, if you would have stopped that earlier, maybe they still wouldn't be cursing at
Hey,
you now.
do you remember this? This video came out a long time ago, but it's a little boy. I can't remember if he had
I'm
like
a man. Yeah.
I'm a man. I'm grown.
Yeah.
I'm grown. That's because that's what he been seeing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It again, it goes into this interaction that he's seen between men
Correct.
and women.
And
This is what he absolutely.
I mean, and once again, I can't tell people how to raise a household, but you understand the impact when you do certain things. When you have people having grown adult conversation in front of the kids,
Right.
that's a reason why these kids pick these conversations up. When you see a kid 2, 3, 4 cursing,
Right.
they heard it from somewhere, or talking about get out of my face, or calling people names and so on and so forth. When you got parents, you got the mother and the father having discourse in front of the kids, and these kids picking up this language,
Right.
or you having other adult conversations in front of these kids.
Adult. What? How many times, Schemes, have we shook our heads seeing the mamas and stuff twerking in front of the kids?
Absolutely.
They right there in the view of the phone and the camera.
Now,
You
once
know.
again, can't tell you how to raise your
Can't
kids.
tell you. No.
But understand, there is an impact with it because the kids are very impressionable at these young ages when they see these different things. But now becomes not just a visual thing; it becomes a learned behavior.
Right.
It's hard to break that behavior after the adolescent phase, and then you think about a lot of times we set these kids up for failure because we have not corrected them. And we now tell your 17-year-old son, get out of my house at the graduation.
He's not ready.
He's not ready.
He or she
What
is not
what
ready.
have you did to prepare them for the real world?
Right.
As we talked about, have you had a conversation about credit? I know some kids that don't even wash their own clothes.
Yep. I know when me and Schemes, and this is, we first got our spot together. He had us a little townhouse, you know what I'm saying? 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. And as we've lived together throughout the years, people are like, man, you always stayed in a nice place. And our mind frame, because of how we were raised, was, I want to stay in a nice place. You know what I'm saying? And people are like, how can y'all afford it? Our mind frame was always take care of the rent.
Take care of business first.
Take care of the rent. Y'all, when me and Schemes first moved out together, we couldn't really afford cable at that time.
Yeah. And now look at it. He's ahead of the curve. No one has cable now.
We couldn't afford cable, so I had a little bitty TV that my mom let me take from her house. And Schemes would come in, and we were watching Thin Line Between Love and Hate, Paid in Full, Beverly Hills Cop, all this stuff like it was brand new until we came up in the game.
But also, we were happy.
We were.
You couldn't tell us that we wasn't happy, but that also shows when we start talking about loving yourself. How many? You shouldn't need the new J's to feel proud of yourself or feel worthy.
Come on, man.
I shouldn't need the new, or your girl should need the new Birkin bag or whatever it is to feel like they matter.
Yeah.
A lot of it also start from the household at an early age, loving your kids, telling your kids that they're worth it. That's why you see a lot of millionaires or business owners, they have daily mantras. Even today.
Yes.
People with real money.
That's real.
Have daily mantras. They have vision boards. Because you have to manifest these different things. But if there's power in the tongue. If you're constantly speaking negative on your kids, speaking negative on the quote unquote baby daddy or baby mom, you're projecting these different frequencies out into the earth, into the atmosphere, and these different things become true. So you're basically limiting your child, because as a kid, there's endless possibilities as a kid. As you see Jason, he's willing to jump off a building because he knows no limits.
Yes.
He only sees
and we lose that over time.
But because of those limiting words or those different conversations, those kids don't feel empowered.
Right.
to be willing to take that leap of faith. Not saying not controlling, which once again we're not talking about allowing your kids to go awry.
Right, of course, yeah. Everything's about balance. We're talking about with balance, yes.
We have to speak positive. One, you need to start speaking positive on yourself, to yourself.
Boom, starts with you first.
Because I can't help you be happy if I can't be happy myself.
Right.
And I can't be happy with you if I can't be happy by myself.
Boom, there you go.
I can't teach what I don't have.
No amount of money, no amount of material things is going to bring happiness. And let's go back, Skeen. In our community, and you said a key thing about how we look at domestic violence, right? Mm-hmm. We don't look at and say, oh, well, domestic violence is a crime of proximity. We should look at anytime we're at a position where we're about to inflict any type of harm, physical harm, mental harm, onto somebody from our community, we got to look at that the same way we look at domestic violence.
I mean, there's a reason why they had the age-old phrase, living by the golden rule. Mm-hmm. Do unto others you want others to do unto you.
Right.
It's easier said than done. But we say these phrases, but we don't really wholeheartedly mean them.
And we can't talk. I'm always challenged by the proximity argument. Is there any such thing as black on black, white on white? No. But let's be real. The vast majority of crime that happens within our community is within our community. And just because other communities are doing it doesn't justify us doing it.
Right. Or we
have to help. If we're saying that we are these elevated people, mm-hmm. we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard.
Well, Huffy. Your homegirl husband cheated. So
you don't look at it the same way.
So you shouldn't be mad at me.
You can't. It is police brutality right? Is racism right? Absolutely not. Is me killing somebody off of proximity right? No, absolutely not. And I want us to hold ourselves to a high. I can't ask you to hold this standard if I myself am not holding it.
As well as we should be, more of anything, we should control the controllable. We can't control how outside of here look at us or treat us.
Yes, but we can control.
But I can control the kind of love that I show to my brother and my sister.
Absolutely.
I can control the educating a kid on getting out of the streets.
Absolutely.
If I don't want him to go down that same path that I went, or her to go down the same path that you went, and so on and so forth. Teaching each other, holding each other accountable, helping. Mm-hmm. How often do you even see a person hold the door open for old women, or older people in general?
Right.
You rushing through, you fly past them. Hey, handle your business. Figure it out. We've lost a lot of empathy. Mm-hmm. And at what point that it has become, I don't know.
Right.
But we all need to do a real reflection and self-accountability and think about what can I do myself to make my community a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about this in relationships. Relationships are a reflection of us. So the negativity that we see, whether we want to admit it or not, within our community is a reflection of the community.
Yes.
We have to be open and honest about that. And how can we get better? We were pulling the stats. And again, we hate to always bring up Chicago, but recently there was a weekend when they had, 100 folks shot.
Yeah.
100 folks shot. Another week there was 60 something folks shot.
And the crazy thing is, Chicago is not even one of the top 50 worst cities.
As far as, what was it?
Chicago's not even considered the top city in terms of murder.
Right. Yep.
When they do per capita, when they do per every 1,000 people.
Right.
It's not even considered one of the worst cities.
Right.
When you start talking about dangerous crimes, which is rape, assault, murder, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. But if Chicago is getting that kind of publicity through the media, And that's not even the most dangerous city. Think about the other city, and a lot of those other cities, unfortunately, are minority. Well, the minority is the majority in those cities.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Look at back home. Unfortunately, we're in the top 11.
Yes.
I think in worst cities.
So look,
Nothing to be proud of.
when we're talking about worst cities as far as violent crime is concerned, right? Number one, violent crime rate per 1,000 is number one is Detroit. Yeah, and it has your chance of being a victim is 1 in 50. Memphis, Tennessee, your chance is 1 in 51. And it goes from there. It's Birmingham, Alabama, Baltimore, Maryland, Flint, Michigan, St. Louis, Missouri, Danville, Illinois, Saginaw, Michigan, Wilmington, Delaware, Camden, New Jersey, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Little Pine Bluff, Arkansas is 11.
Little Rock is 15.
Kansas City, Missouri is 12th. San Bernardino, California, 13th. Alexandria, Louisiana is 14th. Little Rock is 15th. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. Number 50 is Tulsa, Oklahoma. You have a 1 in 93 chance of being a victim of a violent crime. Now, like we're saying, in many of these places, unfortunately, you will see that there is a disproportionate rate of minorities that are committing the crimes. Now, we're not dumb enough to say that there haven't been systematic things that have happened and we talked about that last episode, that have put us in a place where, you know, we're impoverished communities, we're undereducated, we're underfunded, et cetera, et cetera. But again, what we have to go back to is, since once we know these things, once you know the bear trap is there, how do you move differently going forward? And that's what we want to talk about. What are the controllables?
One of the controllables is, okay, there's no jobs.
Right.
Let's start creating our own.
How do we do that? Value in one another.
Yeah.
Value in one another. And one of the biggest issues, and again, last episode we talked about the Willie Lynch letter. And that division was set within our community then, and it's been pervasive since then. Because I don't see value in Skeens, I have no issue knocking him off because I see no value in him. He just another nigga out here.
Well, it's just like there's a reason why with the penal system they give them numbers instead of calling you by your name.
Exactly.
I have to take the human element away from you.
I have to remove that from you. I can't see you as a human being because then I'm going to treat you differently.
So and then as we start talking about those different things, we started talking about the controllables.
Yes.
Controllable number one is we know that we have issues.
Yes.
Let's start creating mental health hubs in these different cities.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That we make mental health a thing that starting third grade, we have family counseling. We start unpacking these different traumas. A lot of times, it's conversations, unheld conversations.
Yes,
which manifest into deaths or fragmented households and so on and so forth.
Yes,
that's the first thing we can start doing.
Yes.
Number two, if we're just going off the top of the head, a quick list.
Yeah. From
there, we start, once we unpack those different traumas, there's no jobs. Okay, let's go incubate job creation incubations. Let's have leadership or mentorship that's going to come up with different jobs, and we create your own job, and we have mentorship that show you how to run that job.
Absolutely.
How to run that business, how to keep pay your taxes. We have then from there we start going empowerment. We can crowdfund different things.
Yes.
Okay, the bank won't come here. Okay, we'll crowdfund our own bank.
Boom.
And now that we have skin in the game, guess what? We want that bank to thrive. Look at the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are owned by the city. They don't have an actual ownership. It's owned by the city.
Yes.
And they turn out every game. Why? Because they all have stake in it.
Yes. They say skin in the game.
If you won't lend to us, Well, we'll create our own hub of banks.
Yes, and you know
or credit union, and now I will lend to us.
Yes, and
But-
you know one of my biggest schemes is, in order for us to start to circulate money in the black community, the black family has to be able to take care of their everyday goods and services in order because again, as soon as we go to your favorite grocery store, your favorite retail store, that money leaves this community.
Yeah.
And that Schemes is talking about if we collectively crowdfunded our own quote unquote Walmart, our own quote unquote grocery store, if the black family can get his food and his daily supplies from his home from a black owned business.
Well, and then
Then because you're now opening that black bank, because you're opening that black grocery store, you're opening that black Walmart, that's again putting jobs back into the infrastructure that we're trying to establish.
And more of anything on top of that is now we're changing the lens by which you see yourself.
Boom, there you go.
Because one of the major stress in our community is paying bills, being able to pay your bill.
Absolutely.
So we're going to eliminate that by creating these jobs.
Yes.
And creating ownership. Now you take pride in going to work. You take pride in making sure that company that you may be a part of,
yes,
is gonna thrive. Not working behind the counter for somebody else and you going through the motion when you really don't want to be here.
Right.
As we start talking about those different things now. With that ownership, we do circulate money. We're now employing people.
There you go.
As we talk about having a minority-owned bank or credit union, part of that before I even give you the money is I'm going to educate you on how to spend the money. I'm going to educate you on the business plan through those different hubs. So I'm going to educate you first. That way you're making smart decisions with the money and understanding how to run your business.
There you go.
And as a business owner now, you can be a mentor for your employees.
There you go. And then you take that knowledge that you have and you carry it to that next.
As not one, and you're not looking at it from a hoarder mentality, like it's not enough for all of us. And that's what happens to, and that's what happens to some people being greedy. You miss a lot of your blessings because you're being greedy and not want to seed the flower of someone else and help them grow.
Yeah.
Your legacy should be who have I impacted and how I have impacted them.
We got one of our big bros, and wherever he was always the one in the clique that had the higher level job, Kuma. And wherever he has gone, or in any way that he could, he always reached back. He always built the bridge back. And if he couldn't get us on that job, he was always making sure that he made us a part of his success in the next levels that he achieved. Yeah. And we have done that actually in the midst of doing some of that stuff right now, where we're trying to collectively do things with each other within the group, within the family, and you branch it out from there. And
I have to get rid of that. And because if I'm winning,
right,
you're winning.
Absolutely.
Now I can celebrate. If we're both winning, I should be willing to and be just as happy to celebrate your wins as mine.
Right.
As mine, because celebrating your wins does not mean I'm looking down on myself.
Right. I think it's Muhammad Ali. They say he had that short poem. I think I might be getting it wrong, but I think he was like, you, we. So I can't remember I, me, you, or something like that. But basically, what he was saying is that when Schemes, and I swear to God, I try to carry this with me. When Schemes comes up, I come up.
Correct.
When I come up, he comes up. We have a running joke between us. If anything ever happens where one of us gets quote unquote the bag and run up on some money, we are gonna call whoever it is and say, leave wherever we at work. Leave. I know when he says leave right now, that it has happened.
Because it's community.
Happened. It's community.
And for some people say, oh, because you're all family, y'all. No, some family members hate each other.
Yes.
So don't allow that to be your crutch.
Yeah.
to say I can't have that kind of relationship with my family member or my boys because y'all are no. It's because we have that relationship. We have that bond.
Right.
I don't think we've ever argued.
No.
Because we have a similar lens in terms of how we maneuver differently in life somehow. But
yes.
The lens
that's another episode. Anyway.
But the lens is still the foundation is still the same.
It's still the same moral code. And we have to carry that with, and that's the thing about all of this. We can have opposing views within the black community.
Correct.
But there's a foundation that we must build if we're trying to get to where respect, integrity, value, my big one, love. Yeah. Man, I love you. I honestly and truly love you. I got brothers that after we do this, this little show here, it's cool. I got people text me, DM me, encouraging me out of a true place of love. I got a shout out to my boys on the MVP podcast. LaFrance, Book, Greg, Chris.
Check them out, people.
Check them out. But they hit me like, yo, Jay, man, we see what y'all doing. Oh, man, we need to collab because there's true love there. We have to have that same thing within the community. And as Schemes was saying, we have to change the narrative and we got to be honest, y'all, in the music and, us being hip hop fans and in some of the ways we have moved, we have perpetuated this stuff that we see now. We've perpetuated. We got to be honest about that. We got to be honest about some of the game that we gave to the generation for it to be the way that it is right now. As Jay-Z said in that song, Ignorant-ish, it's only entertainment. I've always looked at it that way.
Yep.
I've always looked at it, but some people did it, and they were trying to walk in the footsteps of the people that they were idolizing and looking at as successful. And this is the way I'm gonna get it.
And the further let you know that it's entertainment. Now, not saying that wasn't a life they may or may not have lived in the past.
Right.
If that person is still doing the thing that he or she is saying that they're doing in the streets on these records.
Right.
Guess what? They're not doing any records.
Right. Talk about it.
They're doing time.
Talk about it.
For dry snitching on themselves.
Talk about it.
I like AI Ab.
Come on. Yeah. Yeah.
If you're doing these things that you're saying that you're doing at the moment that you're doing it.
Yes.
Guess what? You're not making any more records.
You just made a case against yourself.
Congratulations. You snitched on yourself. They telling on me. No, you told yourself.
All they was doing was write down what you put in the record. You know what I'm saying?
So when you watch Rambo, you view Rambo and you view Sylvester Stallone as an actor.
Yeah, he's not really shooting and killing.
When you watch wrestling, well, wrestling had to tell you that it was fake because people was really doing backyard wrestling. They're still doing it.
Right.
But it's entertainment.
Yes, it's entertainment, y'all.
So take it at face value, but that should tell you that the infrastructure and the leadership in the household should be stronger. Because the outside should not have more influence over my child than I do, or over my mate than I do.
Right, and what we got to get back to, again.
You're getting dressed up for the gram, but you won't get dressed up for me?
You understand what I'm saying? We have to, another part of it, there's many parts of it. Another part of it is that we have to go into relationships with much more thought than we have. We've been too willy-nilly with relationships. And as my bishop always taught, there's no such thing as illegitimate kids, but there are illegitimate parents. You know what I'm saying? And we've gone into this relationship thing, and we have these. I was just talking to a young lady today, and she was saying that how her and her significant other, she's getting ready to have a child, and I was encouraging her that you're going to start to experience another level of hardness, but you can make it through that. And she's like, man, it's tough. And she was telling me how she's seen people in this same situation right now when the child is there. And whether you are a proponent of marriage or not, the out of wedlock rate in our community is too high, in my opinion. It just is. And when you remove that mother and father married dynamic there, it makes it easier and more disposable to leave the relationship. then we have another fractured family.
Well, just outside of, as you stated, let's not just say kids that are born outside of wedlock.
Right.
And as we talk about, for the people that don't believe in marriage, to each his own.
Right.
But more importantly, we're having kids that have fragmented parents.
Okay.
Because you can still co-parent and not be married.
Indeed.
But the co-parenting there's no co in the co-parenting.
Right. Right.
For one reason or another.
Right. Yep.
Whether the father's not there, whether the mother won't allow him to be there, whether they're always fighting, they can't agree to even buy a pair of shoes. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fighting, which in terms, what does the kid see?
Okay, let's talk about it.
Now you're pitting your kid against one parent against the other.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Or your kid is also now learning these unhealthy traits of arguing, and instead of being able to communicate, if he or let's say as a male, to actually have a real thoughtful communication and speak as a man, he's seeing this. He's now having this conversation in anger and from an emotional standpoint, because that's what he sees.
That's what he sees.
Infighting.
That's what he sees.
So you're shocked when your kid is arguing with his sibling, or shocked when he's arguing at school, or so on and so forth, because that model of possibility that he sees is only chaos.
Right. And then, again, we're shocked when they find themselves in adulthood and having poor relationships.
Yeah.
This is the model that you've created. And that's why I'm saying we have to be so much more thoughtful. And Schemes was talking about it just the other day, the trickle-down effect in everything that we do. And it's whatever you believe, whether it's reap what you sow, whether it's karma, where you got it coming to you, whatever it is, for every action, there's an opposite but equal reaction. Mm-hmm. And what is the frame of reference that we're giving to our kids?
The butterfly effect.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. This is what we're doing. So, again, guys, we've been wanting to talk about this for a minute, man. And it's nothing where, again, we got to be thoughtful about what we're doing. As Schemes was saying, where's the money going? Different organizations and things like that. We got to be smart about what we're doing and how we're moving with our community. We pulled it up the other day with the Black Lives Matter. Everybody's Black Lives Matter. Okay, beautiful on surface face value. But if you simply go to their website, they've been making a lot of donations to politicians, just Democratic politicians. Now, are they lobbying for us?
And that was one of my things. If the money is being used as a show of force to become lobbyists, I get it.
I love it.
But if it's being used just for charitable donations, then that's something totally different. Because what are we getting out of it?
Right. We want to see it again. We want to see. You can give it to a part of it, and it's a total view. A part of it is lobbyists, but a part of it, Schemes, we gotta be getting money directly to the source, to the people.
And and we talked about it before. When it comes to real change on the political standpoint in the bigger arena,
right?
You either have to have one or two things. You have to have money,
yes,
or you have to have influence.
Boom.
So if the money is being used, like I said, for lobbying standpoint to create influence to make change, I love it.
I love it.
But if not, then there's an issue.
Yep.
Now the other way is create influence.
Yes.
And how do we create influence? Mm-hmm. I know it'll never happen, and definitely not in my lifetime. Would be everyone in the community of the black and brown unite into one complete political party. We're talking about 60 to 80 million people as a collective.
Yes, sir.
If I don't have the money to make change, I come with a huge number to make change.
Yeah, like you're saying.
So whether you're the Democrat or Republican or whatever your view is, not all Democrats view the same things. Not all Republicans have the same view.
Yeah.
But in terms of our communities, we come with a real number.
And we gotta
my vote means something.
Yes.
So it's easy to say, hey, if something happened on the street, I'm not paying attention to y'all when you're marching, so on and so forth. Okay, keep marching because you're not making a real impact. If I come with 80 million people and I say, hey, you want to win, you better play ball. What are you going to do for my people, my community? And it's not a division thing. We're talking about equality. What are you going to do for my community? Are you going to make sure that my streets are paved? Are you going to make sure that the teachers, that we have adequate teachers or adequate curriculum?
Yes, books
or housing,
paper,
insurance,
clean water,
whatever. Look at Flint. They still have horrible water. Why? Why are those politicians not on death row?
You see what I'm saying?
You knowingly passed that bill for that piping system.
Yep.
And those people, which we talk about generational, a lot of those people are going to have issues for generations because of the water.
Yep.
Unclean water, lead, and so on and so forth is causing cancer and so many other things. Why are those people not on death row?
Yep. 100. Yeah.
So when we're talking about coming as a collective, we come with a real number. 60,000, 80,000, 60 million to 80 million people will swing an election one way or another.
Absolutely.
We're talking about real power.
That's influence.
So if I can't be a lobbyist, I'm going to come with a real number that's going to make you take care of our community to improve those. So improving the community means less crime.
Yeah.
More jobs in our communities. Yeah. Less police harassment because driving while black.
Yes.
And so on and so forth. Maybe if I come with 80 million people, we make you all improve. Instead of saying defunding the police, we're going to make you come with a new regiment for the police. That now police training is 2 years or a year.
Well, it's like my man Jacko. I can't think.
Well, the guy on Joe Rogan's show, he was talking about that 20% of police.
They need to spend 20% of their time
training all the time.
He brought up, and Pop, he was in the military. I'm around the military now. He's like, we would train for 18 months for a 6-month deployment.
Thank you. And the guy even talks about being in teaching crisis management.
Yes.
Consistently, not a one-time thing.
Yeah, and he brought up a good point. When you just train in the academy, when altercation happens.
Think about it, 12 weeks.
And you don't train no more, you're no longer used to somebody grabbing you and knowing how to diffuse the situation. You know what I'm saying? Now when somebody grab you because it haven't happened to you, the first thing you do, I'm reaching.
When you look at, for the MMA lovers,
yes,
when you watch those different guys when they're in certain holes, yes. what does the corner tell you? Calm down, breathe, take your time.
Absolutely. And they learn how to be, courage
centered.
Under fire, be centered, be calm. And when you're in a situation and you've been trained, you can go from a calm position, a la the Kobe Bryants and the Floyd Mayweathers and the Michael Jordan. They say in those moments, things actually slow down for them where they can see things happening. But when you just a regular dude, you a cop in uniform, but you haven't had no training of combatives or nothing in sometimes years. Mm-hmm. So when that thing again, the first thing you reaching for is the strap. You see what I'm saying?
And talk about 12 weeks. 12 weeks. You think about this, right? I can go from flipping burgers at McDonald's,
right,
to basically enforcing law in 12 weeks.
12 weeks, man.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. No,
not enough time.
Not enough. Well, we like 50 minutes. So anyway, we don't want to belabor the point, but the overall message that we're trying to get across again is, we got to show more value and love for one another for us to make it to this place that we're trying to get to. And I want to empower all the men and women from our community to empower and invest time into somebody else to change this narrative and to try to help change the way that we think about valuing life in one another.
Community empowerment only means community empowerment when you're willing to empower the community.
Absolutely. We have to be willing to invest the time into the community and change the thought process. And again, what Skeens in our small way right now is we're always trying to show that, again, value, love, communication. We got to be able to communicate. Now, if those young men and women were much more equipped and able to communicate with one another, they can those situations could be diffused. And so right now, again, wherever you are listening to this, watching it on your phone, on your laptop, again, we value you. We appreciate you. We love you. You're necessary. We got to have each other to get to this place of where we want our community to be. And these are the investments, legacy investments that we're trying to make it in our small way. In the How Did We Get Here show. These are the investments of legacy that we want to make. So we empower you guys and encourage you guys to do the same thing. But again, until next time, it's your boy Jay Carter. I got my man Skeens. It's another episode. We appreciate y'all rocking with us. How did we get here? We'll holler at you later.